Politics is a game that shouldn't be won. It's not about finding solutions, but fighting against each other, destroying any advantage one has above the other. And if you agree with the party of the other side on an issue, that's not good. I believe we need some basic ideas, not just parties, but our whole society can agree on. I will try today to define the ground on which we may build our society. For everybody that doesn't know, the Happiness Ideology channel is a place to discuss ideas that will help humanity to bring happiness to everybody. So if you find any logical fallacies in my argument, don't hesitate and tell me where I'm wrong. This video defines the cement on which we can then build arguments for the debates on women and man rights, racism, capitalism, communism, and so on. So I'm going to start this journey by talking about the three current philosophies that try to define what a well-lived life looks like. I hope governments can then use those ideas from the different ideologies and then scale them up to an entire population. So, first of all, hedonism. This is probably the most well known of the three, but for everybody that doesn't know, hedonism is generally the view that happiness or pleasure is the only intrinsic good and suffering the only intrinsic bad. So for example, choosing to watch a movie instead of doing your homework is perceived by the hedonist as a good act, because it gives you more pleasure. The concept is quite simple actually, and therefore of course it also has its flaws. Listening to a sad song, for example, or getting a college education are things we would generally agree on make our life better, even when they don't cause us direct pleasure. Therefore some smart people gave this whole hedonism thing a think and defined a new theory called the desire satisfaction theory. As the name already suggests, they claim that the more of your desires get fulfilled, the better your life will be. For example, let's go back to the idea of listening to a sad song. Listening to a sad song don't give us direct pleasure, but if we have the desire to do so and we act on it, the desire satisfaction theorists would say that we have a better life this way. But even this view brings some problems. If you want to be a great writer, for example, but you only become so after your death, does that make your life a better one? Does a desire fulfilled after your life affect how good your life was? Or for example, pretty much everybody I know has some kind of childhood trauma. I mean, this either raises some questions about parenting as a whole or my friend group, but for the sake of the argument, let's also say you have some kind of childhood trauma, which causes you to choose a toxic relationship partner. Your desire to have a partner like this gets fulfilled, but does that make your life better? Because of that, some other smart people thought some more and came to the conclusion that we should stop all this subjective good life nonsense and define some objective things that when achieved make our lives better. They called this philosophy the objective list theory. Again, very straightforward. There are things like family, friends, wisdom that when achieved make your life better, even if they don't fulfill a desire or make you happier. The problem with this theory is that there's literally no list everybody agrees on, or at least I haven't found one so far. Anyways, these are the basic philosophies and arguments for and against them. And after thinking about them some more and asking myself which would be best suited for running a government, I want now to make an argument for hedonism. First of all, remember the first example I made for hedonism. When having the choice between doing your homework or watching a movie, you should choose the movie because it gives you more pleasure. I think that's only half of the truth, because what does that mean in the long run? By not doing your homework, you will maybe get some bad grades. You will maybe even fail your class. Therefore, choosing the movie over the homework isn't really hedonistic, because it gives you more pain in the long run. Hedonism, for me at least, is not about choosing the most pleasure in the moment, but what will give you the most pleasure overall. In order to choose happiness, you have to sometimes choose pain. Let's also think about the argument desire theorists make. Not every desire makes us happy. I know it might seem like that sometimes, but choosing to watch a sad film or choosing to listening to sad music can indeed give us pleasure. It may help us bonding, it may help us express our emotions that, if unexpressed, again cause us even more pain. That said, I have to agree with one argument I heard. Hedonists define pain or suffering as something bad, and defining something as bad causes us to avoid it. And avoiding pain, bottling up our emotions, almost certainly causes even more pain. So I want to use this opportunity to tell you that pain is not the enemy. Being able to deal with pain is something beautiful and something we should strive for, because it causes us to experience less suffering and therefore makes us happier. The real enemy is not grief, anger or sadness, but the situations that invoke those kind of emotions. The feelings themselves are just reactions to the bad situation. There's another philosophical view in the world called Stoicism, and Stoics like to make the argument that sometimes we choose the happiness of other people above our own, and that can make our life better. And again, I have to totally agree. Sometimes we even choose the lives of others, for example the ones of our loved ones, above our own. But still, we do this to make other people happier. This is exactly the effect achieved when combining hedonism with utilitarianism, which extends the view of just being hedonistic for yourself and instead being hedonistic for everybody, maybe even animals. The goal of a government should be to provide a happier life for everybody, even if that means experiencing a little more pain yourself. In the end, hedonism, the desire satisfaction and list theories largely overlap in practice. Fulfilling our desires can bring us a lot of happiness, but we have to be able to recognize when they don't. There are objective items indispensable to the happiness of most humans, but we have to recognize that there will always be minorities that don't need them. Every hedonist can learn from desire satisfaction, objective list, or the Stoicism theories, and also vice versa. I started researching this video with the goal to define the word happiness, and now I have made a whole argument about altruistic hedonism, which I've never thought I would get here. Anyways, what is happiness? I looked at several dictionaries with results that went something like this. Happiness is the feeling of being happy. Or happy is the feeling of showing or causing pleasure or satisfaction. Not really useful, to be honest. And even though there are not big linguistic differences between pleasure and happiness, there is one in our minds. I mean, which one would you say to your partner? You make me feel pleasurable or you make me feel happy? I mean, depends on the occasion, but I think you get what I mean. There are differences between saying something causes us pleasure and something makes us happy. The very first source I found when researching this video defined happiness as follows. Happiness is the feeling that comes over you when you know life is good and you can't help but smile. And even though this is pretty useless in a linguistic sense, I found this so far to be the best description on what it really means to be happy. What is happiness? Well, happiness is looking at the stars, remembering how small you are in a grand and infinite universe, and therefore forgetting all your problems. Happiness is waking up after a week or a month of depressive episodes, and everything is not fine, but okay again. Happiness is the moment you lean in for your first kiss, where just for a few seconds nothing else seems to matter. Happiness is the moment you spontaneously decide to spend the weekend in another country. Happiness is the moment you feel that everything is going to be alright. It is drinking water after a workout, seeing your friends, succeeding in a project, having sex, listening to great music, having a fantastic meal, appreciating to be alive. And ladies and gentlemen, remember to point out any logical fallacies, because the cement can't be fractured. But I believe that the government should do nothing more than provide us with more of these little, precious, happy moments.